Good evening, guys. Good evening. How are you doing today?
Bye.
How's your day been? Good. All right. Officially welcome to today's session. For those that were around last month, we officially kicked off our knowledge-based session every month, and I think for me it's been interesting, right? And like I was saying to you guys, it might look as if oh, you're just here, but by the time we get into the conversation, begging guys to stop asking questions, right? And so I want you guys to just have, anticipation that it's going to be interesting and that there's going to be a lot of things I'm going to say. So today we're talking about, non-tech talent, non-tech skills rather needed by tech talent, right? And you might feel like, oh, what's my business? I'm here to learn how to be a software engineer. I just want to type away on my system or, do the cool stuff, great apps, great websites, and you might not necessarily know that you need some, soft skills, that will enhance you, that will sort of take you to the next level, get you a promotion, get you to be able to speak to somebody, move you to the next level, get you a new job, right? Or joining branch. She's a senior certified professional by the Society of Human Resource Management USA and an alumnus of Covenant University, Nigeria. You see, that's huge, guys. So expect a lot. All right. I'm afraid I'm more than your name. Evarristus. Great, thank you. Evarristus is an agile project manager with a background in civil engineering and a versatile skill set in providing projects, product management, and customer-focused attention to all business needs and operations. He manages highly visible concurrent projects using agile methodologies to plan, organize, lead, and motivate cross-functional project teams to exceed performance and delivery expectations. Evarristus is currently managing projects for Social Lender, overseeing operations in 6 states in Nigeria. Again, that's huge, guys. So I want us to just pay attention to them because they do have a lot of, knowledge and they do know what they are saying. That's why I wanted to read their bio so we see that we're bringing solid people for us. All right, so we'll get right into the conversation. And I know I've done introductions, but is there anything I missed? Is there anything you want to add? All right, great. So we'll jump right into it. So this first question will be for Evarristus. Is there a short name forms your name? Effa. Okay, great. So we'll stick with Effa. So the first question here is for Effa, and it will be for someone getting into tech today, how do you think they should be thinking about their career?
Right. Thank you very much for that question. And hello, guys. And I'm glad to be here speaking to you guys. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Once again, thank you for having me. For someone getting into tech, the tech industry is a very dynamic industry. You need to be responsive. You need to be ability to respond to change is very important. And I like what you guys are doing here. This is a training institute. So I'd like to break this down. For a start, I'd say you need to first look at all the parts, the different branches in the tech industry where you can actually focus your attention on. There are a number of areas. I hear you guys are majorly software engineers, but I was speaking to her earlier. Chances are you may not end up as a software engineer. There are different parts in the tech industry. First, for a start, you need to look up all that. There's core programming, there's product management, there's product design, there's UI UX, there's product management / project management. So you need to look up all this and then do your proper research. Even in core programming, do you want to be a full stack engineer? Do you want to focus on front end? Do you want to focus on back end? When you look up all these and you look at yourself, you would find something interesting. And then after that, you can either take out time, say 6 to 9 months, and focus on an area and just prepare your skill set, learn, or you can join an organization like this where they can train you and prepare you. Also, you need to have somebody you look up to, somebody you can speak with, more like a mentor. Personally, you do not necessarily need to just have tell that person you're my mentor, because I think it's quite inconveniencing in some sense for you to just walk up to somebody and say, can you mentor me? But you can just have somebody you look up to and somebody you can speak with occasionally, because while learning, you get stuck. There are a lot of things that won't make sense to you. You need that person you can just always call up and then have conversation with and to understand, to unblock yourself. And then after a period of time, learning and then perfecting your skill set, I would say next thing is to look for where you would have practical experience, more like internship. One of the mistakes entry-level engineers do is they look out for where you get paid immediately, right? You could work for a very long time, not a very long time, but let me just say at the earlier, when you just get in, really don't look out for money, look out for where you would, because I mean, the idea is there's so much money in tech and you just want to start making FX, as they call it now, right? But you may just join a small company where you can intern for a bit and have real practical experience. And then after that, you can then launch your career and look for like the big players where you would then expand that skill set. So that's my advice. No, I did justice.
Thank you very much. Yes, you did. Okay, so she used this one. Sorry, Tosin, do you want to check? Not very loud. All right, thank you so much, Effa. My next question will be for Seun. So currently at Branch, you are global head of people, which is Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, and then you do have an India, and you have experience, across other industries. But I mean, in tech, when you're hiring for, tech talent, what are the things that you look out for?
Thank you very much. And I'm very glad to be speaking with you all today. There is something else that, just before I talk about what I look out for, because this you can tell when you're interviewing candidates, especially at entry-level roles. I always tell those who are just, and this cuts across whether you're in tech or it's a non-tech role. Always ask yourself the why and then the how. So your why, when you're starting out, you're fresh out of school or you just left boot camp, your why can be, I just want to make money. Your why can be, I just want to jackpot. Your why can be anything, but your why needs to have substance. So while it's great to make money, just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic thing, food, shelter, but beyond that, what then happens? So after you make money, what's next? And, Effa said something, you need to be grounded. A lot of people just want, and I see that a lot. I see CVs, someone has been a software engineer for 1 year and has worked in 4 places already. Like, what exactly have you done in 1 year that you've already jumped jobs 4 times? So there needs to be substance to what it is that you are doing. And so if a CV comes to me and I'm looking at your CV, I can already tell, even before trying to talk to you, that there is no depth to this person. There is no substance to what this person is doing. Because as a software engineer, I'm not sure how you'd have built products start to finish in 4 places in 1 year. So that's the first thing. Ask yourself the why. Why do I want to do this? Is it because it's the rave of the moment? It's okay for you to start out that way, but find a deeper meaning why you're moving into tech. And then the second one is the how. So now you know the why, the how, whether you want to become a DevOps person, you want to become a backend engineer, you want to become front-end, you want to go into blockchain, you want to do data science, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do all of that. But how do you get there? There's a saying that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. There needs to be a plan for your career. And you start from the first day, not after 4 years or after 5 years. You start from the first day. Because if you don't find the why and you don't know the how, you would spend 5 years and you look back to those 5 years and you'll be like, what have I done with the last 5 years of my life? So start from there. Now, when I am, meeting candidates, you're interviewing for a role at my company or, anywhere else, some of the things that I look out for, the basic thing or the foundation and the easiest thing is your technical skills. But that's just the first step. It's a leg in the door. but what sustains you? You know, it's like when you watch Olympics and you watch the pole vaulters, you know, you run and then your pole vault propels you forward. What is the thing that propels you forward? All of the soft skills. And how do you determine that when you're interviewing someone? I'm talking to someone and I tell you to tell me about your projects that you've worked on, for example. And you can't tell me what part you played in it. You just on the surface, maybe you say, oh, I developed something. Sorry, I'm not an engineer, so pardon me if I don't speak tech too much. But say I developed a product. This product was supposed to do X, Y, Z. The timeline was 3 months. And at the end of the day, customers were happy. That doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me what part you played in the development of that product. It doesn't tell me the efforts you put in. It doesn't tell me how you collaborated with other people. So for someone that answers me that way, compared to someone who says, there was a need in the market. We discovered that we had, underserved people in XYZ community. We decided to build a lending product. We got together with the product managers, with the UX person, with the research operations person. We came together. We decided on what kind of products we wanted to build. I was responsible for the coding part. There was a product manager on the team. There was this, there was that. That already tells me you were part of the process. It already tells me what parts you played in the process. Oh, the timeline was 3 months, but because, because stakeholder management, these switches here and there, it was extended by 2 months, or it was supposed to be 3 months. We ended up doing it in 2.5 months. And here is how that this product impacted the end user. So from start to finish, I already can tell that this is someone who is invested. You don't see yourself just as, a software engineer. I'm just coding and that's all I do. If you are not invested in the business or in the products that you are building, then you probably will not be a successful software engineer. So those are some of the things like, software, those soft skills, and they come to play when you're talking. You don't know it, you may practice, and I can tell you, because people practice, you go to Google, how to practice for interview questions, you read all of those things, but they can tell. We can always tell when you're talking. So yeah, beyond your technical skills, which we will check, of course, with coding, real-time coding test, all of those soft skills are then the things. And I'm sure that, of course, as we go on, we'll talk more about those soft skills, but yeah. Finally, your culture fit. I need to be sure that your values align with mine. If our values don't align, then we will fight. We will not have a good relationship. If you think X way and I think Y way, then that relationship will not work. And so the things that are important to me, I need to see them in the conversation that I am having with you. And typically we have a hiring committee. So it's not just one stage. One person is checking for culture fit. One person is checking your coding round. Another person is checking system design. Another person is checking, something else. And all of those different people are well-versed in all of those things that they're checking for. So you have to come correct. You have to come ready, the whole full package. And that's really how we check for.
Thank you so much. Guys, are we already enjoying it? Because I am. All right. Next question is for Effa. I was actually going to stretch it and say, let's talk about the soft skills, but I will take a pause on that. And I'll throw this question to Effa. And I think you had sort of touched on it when you were talking about, when you were answering the first question. And the question is, what do some of the potential career paths look like, and how has it evolved over time, right? So for instance, by the time you just got into the tech industry, what were the careers available at the moment? Now what's there, what's the future, what is going to evolve into?
Tech is constantly, like I said it's a very dynamic industry. Like what makes sense today might not make sense tomorrow. So for example, when I got into tech, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like typical agile processes. All the big tech companies are going agile these days, how they operate, right? But at the time I joined, I started working 2016 with Codeville, the owners of AutoReg. The company is actually right down the block here. And how work was, it was the traditional waterfall process of development where you just, there's a there's a concept, there's an idea, oh, we want to build this, and then we just go about do requirement gathering, and then you put those requirements together, and then you come up with a workflow. Then, for example, one of the the new things now, there's the UI UX product designer. It's one of the newest things. It really wasn't there a couple of years ago. We really didn't bother about having a designer come up with the proper mock-up and all that design on Figma. No, I don't think anything like Figma existed back then. So these are like some of the things how tech has actually evolved. There's product designer has a huge role now. Like product designers are making tons of money today. And then it was just after you finish the workflow, you just pass the work to the designers, to the engineers, and then they build. They just keep building for months, and then when they are done, you pass it to the QAs. Were there QAs? I can't remember, but then QA is a thing today. That's an evolution, right? We just do the test, and then there's a day, and then we go live. But now today we're talking about incremental builds. You're building, you're pushing to market, end users are consuming, and then you're getting feedback, and then you're constantly iterating and changing this product. That is what Agile is about, right? Nobody is waiting for a designer to finish designing 100%, no. There's a product, and then there's a design. As you're designing, you're passing it down, and then you're building one part, you're pushing it live. The QA guys are testing, and then you're pushing it to market to get feedback, right? There's a product manager. Product management wasn't a thing back then. So tech has actually evolved. And I see a lot of things coming in the future. AI is huge now, right? It's going to be bigger in the future. Then number of things, I'm just like saying core development process that has evolved between just 2016 where I started and today, right? Today it's more of agile. Like employers want to know that your ability to respond to change, right? These are the things we look out for. Employer, that's what employers are looking out for. Are you flexible, right? Do you understand Scrum framework, Kanban, and all that? These are new things these days, right? So tech has actually evolved a whole lot, and you need to keep yourself abreast with these changes, and it's going to keep changing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Effa. All right, so I'm going to come back to what I said I was going to pull on, which is, you mentioned heavily on the fact that we need, those soft skills. That's like what kind of pushes you forward, right? So can we, have, what are those soft skills exactly? What are they? Itemizing them, explaining what they are and how they come to play, in hiring.
Thank you. So I don't have an exhaustive list. There's a lot, but I'll start with some of the basic one for when you're coming in, because of course, as you become more mature in your career, those skills also evolve. Some basic ones. First thing, communication. So I've seen a lot of software engineers who think that, I just need to code and I'm fine. I really don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to learn how to communicate. I don't need to learn how to, talk to stakeholders. It's a lie, a big fat lie. Your communication has to be top notch. One, for the kind of companies where you want to work. I work in a company where I need to communicate with someone from folks from India, folks from the US, folks from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Nigeria. And you do know that everybody communicates different ways. The way that you communicate with someone in San Francisco is different from the way you communicate with someone in Kenya. Time zones even are different. So communication, if there's one thing you pick today, if I know that some people, develop things one by one. If there's one thing you're going to start on today, let it be your communication. You find software engineers who don't know how to document anything. Their own is, let me just code. At least I'm giving it to you. It's a lie. You must know how to document. We use Slack, and we have different Slack channels. and we have Slack channels for different things. And you'll see that there's some particular engineers always dropping gems in those Slack channels. Oh, I just discovered this. If you have problem with XYZ, this is how you need to be able to do it. And they drop it there. And when I look at those particular software engineers that do that, they are my top performers. They're the excellent ones, because not only are they able to do their jobs, they're also able to communicate effectively to other people how to do theirs. These are the people that are now in my face. So when it's time for promotion, who will I remember? Because they are doing the job, they're in your face, they are visible. So it's not just that they are sucking up to anybody. They're not sucking up to anybody. They're actually doing the work. And then they're passing, their knowledge to the next person and the next person and the next person. But if you feel like, please, I'm an IC, all I have to do, all you're paying me to do is to just code and go home. I don't have to do the extra mile. Remember that for you to even get promoted anywhere, it's not what you're doing that gets you promoted. Because I'm already paying you for what you're doing right now anyways. What gets you promoted or what gets you to the next level is that you're already operating at the next level. So if you are on this level, all you need to know is 1 + 1, 2, 2 + 2, 4, 4 + 4, 8, 8 + 8, 16. And I'm paying you $1,000 for that. There's no need for you to be promoted. But when you start knowing 4 × 4, 16, when you start knowing 5 × 5, 25, which is above the level where you are, then I know that, okay, this person is ready for the next level. That's what gets you promoted. That's what puts you in the faces of, the people who make these decisions. So communication is super, 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 super important. And you need to tell it to everyone. So if, I know that Effa is the kind of person that, he's a morning person, then you see me talking to him more in the morning. I'm a night person. I hate morning meetings. I'm at my best in the night. So my people know me already. If you want to get things done, like you can send me a message at 12 midnight and be sure that I'm going to respond. But if you send me a message at 8 a.m., I most likely will not respond at that time. So people tailor their communication to different sets of people. So it means you also need to know how to read your colleagues. So that's communication, number 1. Number 2 is problem solving skills. That's why you're a software engineer in the first place, for you to be able to solve problems. If you can't solve my problem, then you have no business being a software engineer. So, and what does that do? So critical thinking, you need to be able to think, you hear this phrase all the time, think outside the box, think outside the box. You literally need to think outside the box. There will be bugs and bugs and bugs that you need to fix every time. So how do you sit down and think about the problem? Can you step out of, what the issue is and try to take a more holistic look at it, and then be able to resolve whatever issues you're having? So problem solving skills, very, very, very important. Accountability, there will always be problems. You won't always get it right every time. It's not possible. I've not seen, even for my best engineers, they don't get it wrong all the time. You will deploy something and another thing will break somewhere. But are you accountable? Do you just say, oh, it's the fault of the product manager? Or, oh, it's the fault of HR. She did not hire someone good to work with me. Or it's the fault of, always pushing the blame to other people. You don't look in the mirror to assign blame. You're not seeing yourself when something goes wrong. You need to be accountable. I say that a lot when I'm interviewing people and I say, oh, tell me about a time that you failed. And so I've never failed at anything. No, I can't think of anything. Or tell me, what's the other one that people always give you that textbook answer? Yeah, thank you. What is it? So, and then I always break it down. I'm like, okay, maybe, based on feedback that you've gotten from friends, from relations, from colleagues, what is that thing that you need to work on? You say, I'm such a hard worker. I don't know how to do anything else. I work so hard until I break down. No, tell me something else. Because all the aspire to perspire people have told you, just wrap up your weakness as a strength. Then you come to interviews and you say that. That tells me that there is no introspection. You don't sit down to think about what you can do better. If you think that being a hard worker is your weakness, that's what it tells me. So it's not everything you read online that, some things you sit down, you wait and say, this person that is asking me this question, it's not because she does not know that, or it's not because she has not even read all those things that I'm dishing out to her. So you need to be able to sit down, be accountable. And if you are not even accountable to yourself, then who do you want to be accountable to? So you need to be accountable. You need to know how to communicate effectively problem-solving skills. And then another mistake that a lot of people make, your skills need to be transferable. So a lot of people start out, I'm sure they teach you that here at Semicolon. I'm pretty certain that they teach you that. But don't get married to a particular stack. In fact, it's the biggest mistake that you can have in your career. If you say, I know you say maybe one man, one wife. This one is not one man, one wife. Don't marry one particular stack. However, how do you do that? Understand your web fundamentals. If you know the fundamentals, then you can. In my company, we use Ruby on Rails, but I don't look at, and when I give job descriptions, you will never see it on any of my job descriptions that you must be able to use this stack. No. Because if you understand the web fundamentals, if you understand the fundamentals of coding, then you will be able to work with any stack at all. And so if you know that, you will be able to do it. Only 10%, most times it's maybe like 10% of all the applicants that are able to use the stack that we use. But it doesn't matter. They come on the job and they're able to learn very quickly and they pick it up. So make sure that's number one. Your technical ability is standard and that you can work anywhere. It's not, oh, I can only do this. Imagine if someone was hell-bent on, I can only work with Java. Where would that person be today? So make sure you're able to do that and you learn by doing. Another thing I look out for is someone who is a lifelong learner. Like Effa said, this space, in fact, where you were 2 hours ago, is probably not where you're going to be in another 2 hours. It evolves so quickly. And if you're not constantly learning, then you will be left behind. You will be like this bottle of water. If I take out of this water, I drink. I give her some, give him some. It will finish. If I do not replace this bottle or I don't refill it, then I become empty. And so you end up becoming empty if you're not a learner. Someone who doesn't learn is not destined for greatness. So you have to be someone who learns. And I see that again with a lot of software engineers. I have a $500 annual professional development budget. You have it to learn something that will make you better at your job. And you find some people never use it the entire year. The entire year, they don't use it. Next year, that file, I don't know, and you can't keep it. So it's not like you're trying to accumulate it over 5 years so that you have $2,500. You have it every year. You don't use it. So what exactly are you doing? And you can tell by the quality of their work. So please be a lifelong learner. You have to keep learning so that you stay on top of things. Please learn how to communicate effectively. And when I'm talking about communicating, it's both verbal and written communication, because if you don't know how to document, you're not very useful in the workplace. It means you just want to have everything in your head and you don't want to pour into other people. So learn how to communicate, be a problem solver, be invested in the business. Final one. That's one is super important. You're working in a company. You must be invested in that business. It doesn't matter if you're in business development or if you're in finance, or it doesn't matter that you're not in finance or you're not in business development. You have to be invested in the business, because that's how your work becomes excellent work. You know who the end user is. You understand their pains, and that's how you're able to build a product that will benefit the end user. So you have to be invested in the business. If the business does well, you do well. The business doesn't do well, it crashes, you're out the door anyways. So if I see that you're not invested in my business, I will not like you. I think I will stop there so that we can leave here today.
Oh my God, thank you so much. There was something I picked though, which you said but didn't say, which is self-awareness. I think that was something that you kept on talking about, right? So I'm adding my own to the list. Add that if you're taking notes. And then when you mentioned lifelong learning, I was just like, you people that are thinking after 1 year, you will just stop learning. I'm sorry. Lifelong, like you have signed up for tech, you're going to be learning till you die.
Let me say something about self-awareness. You see, if I write a book about interview stories. I've interviewed someone before and he was just like, oh, you can see my role, you can see where I work. Why should I go through your interview process? Why exactly should I give you an offer based on what, like, I don't know your company or I don't know what you do there. And I see that a lot with, software engineers. There's this, Hey, I know how to use all it, but you people are helping me with the adjectives. You're helping me with the adjectives. I didn't want to say it. It's different from, just being self-aware. Self-aware comes from a place of, bring it. Is it not coding? I'll do it for you. Is it not this? I'll do it for you because I know what I can do. But a lot of them, or you schedule interview, we do interviews virtually. You schedule I will ask them, it's in the olden days that you would just say, you write emails to candidates and say, dear John, you have been invited for an interview at ABC building, 7 a.m. prompt. It's this. No, we don't do that branch. So I will call you. Hi, John. Okay, we want you to, want you to have a coding interview with us. When is your availability? I ask you. I never impose my time on anybody. We ask you for your availability. You give us dates. You give us time. We schedule interview. We send you follow-up. We send you, I always have the interview process. I send you the interview process doc. You see everything. Then on the day, maybe, let's just take it as an example that you were walking on the road and something happened. But in your heart of hearts, you have calendar and you have an interview. What should a right thinking person do? You send a message because you have the email address. You have the phone number. But they will not send message. They won't send message. Then you'll be on the call. You'll now be calling them. They won't pick. Then the next day, they will now send you SMS. Oh, I'm sorry. I slept off. Can we do this again? Never. It won't happen. It won't happen. Some have genuine reasons, but there's almost never a reason why you shouldn't proactively communicate. It means that it just tells me that you don't respect my time. And it means that's what you do when you join the company too. So these little things that we do to be self-aware, and your self-awareness should come from a place of, I know what I'm doing. I'm self-aware enough that if you're asking me anything within my field, even if I don't know it, I can bubble my way through it. That's self-awareness. But, that's, I'm now proud, and no, that's not self-awareness. That's just pride. That's just plain out pride. So self-awareness is great, but let's not confuse it with pride, which I see with a lot of software engineers because they're king and queens. So
thank you for expatiating on that. All right, Effa, this is for you, and I'm going to ask Etin one question. She's talked about a couple of soft skills that we need, and my first question would be, did you struggle with any of this, at the beginning of your career?
Yes.
Are you, I like your honesty. Are you still struggling with,
Yes.
And then, how have you sort of built your soft skills, as you have progressed in your, career?
Okay. She said something about self-awareness. Yeah, Seun said that. That's very important. Yeah, you need to be self-aware. It's very important. So good thing is I'm self-aware, right? So she listed a few soft skills, and I have a few listed down here. And now I struggle with communication because I don't talk a lot, right? I'm not much of a talking person at work, and sadly it's actually very important. But then also communication is two ways, right? This is one thing you guys also need to pay attention to. A lot of people listen to respond, not to understand, right? So you also need to understand. That's communication, understanding, comprehension of what is being said to you, what is being written to you is very important, because you could just be saying rubbish. I'm sorry to put it that way. So yeah, you ask some of the soft skills I've been struggling with. Yeah, communicating. Yeah, it's an issue because I don't talk. But then you need to speak. You need to learn how to speak. You need to learn how to write. It's very important. How do you build this, right? There are so many self-help books out there. Very simple. That's one. You can pick up one and read. That's one. Secondly, there's YouTube. I don't know what people do with YouTube, but there's a whole lot of things there. You can just put in anything in the search bar and then watch something about communication, speaking, right? You would learn. There's literally nothing you can learn, right? So you can read books, you can communicate, you can watch videos on YouTube, listen to podcasts about leadership, communication, and a lot of things, right? That's another thing. Another way is I always say, when I say mentorship, I would not say go and tell somebody, oh, would you be my mentor? But you can just have somebody out there that you admire, how this person speaks. And also that is why it's important to join good organization. I was very lucky to join a structured organization, a very structured organization in my early days. And I worked with lots of ex-bankers. It's actually companies run by ex-bankers. You know, the banking system, you worked in the bank has structure and all that, and then they transfer all that structure. So you have to do emails, you have to write memos, you have to, so I learned. So one of the ways you can also learn is you can see how your boss writes, how they speak. Because trust me, the easiest way of learning and picking up things is by watching. It's when you see what people do. That's like the easiest way of learning. Like you're literally seeing how your boss behave, does, right, leads, does things, communicate. Just pick it up from your boss, pick it up from people you admire. Like it doesn't even have to be your boss. Maybe in an organization, you could have someone else in like another unit or another department. You just like how they speak, how they write. Look at their documents, pick it up, right? Look at it, try to learn from them. That's like the easiest way, right? So yeah, these are some of the things I struggle with in my early days, but then I improved upon them over time. And any other person can actually improve upon these skills over time.
I'll still stretch it to say, do you need all of these skills? I don't know who will answer the question, maybe you first. Do you need all of these skills at the very beginning of your career, or have you sort of evolved to say, oh, I started my career and I needed, this certain bouquet of skills. And then for me to have grown, I needed to pick up these skills,
Okay, so I'll break it down in phases. That's entry level, intermediate, and senior level, right? Now, at the entry level, basic, your skill set has to be at least basic, right? I don't think anybody brings in like a junior engineer and expects you to be an exceptional guy. No, nobody does that, but at least you should be able, your skill set, right? You claim this is my stack, you should at least be able to do something, right? Entry level, soft skill, you need to hold, you need to at least you need to communicate, right? Ask question. Communication here is more at the entry level, listen more, understand what your line manager or tech lead is telling you, the instructions they're issuing, and what is required of you, right? If you do not understand anything, ask questions. So many people do not ask questions. You just keep quiet and assume. Do not make assumptions, ask questions, right? At the entry level, you need to listen, learn, and then you're learning a lot from people who are up there. At the intermediate level, you need to start showing some initiative, right? You're not a learner anymore, right? You're not waiting for your tech lead or your head of department or whatever to just direct you, right? You're picking up things at this level. You're doing things and taking it to your tech lead and saying, oh, I worked on this, I did it this way, right? And then you're also mentoring the people underneath you, right? Because you have entry people under you. You're also showing them the way, right? Because at this level, you're showing some level of leadership qualities and all that, and you're mentoring, you're speaking, you're communicating. At the senior level, you're leading teams at that level, right? You need to be you need to plan, because you have to plan your team's time. You need to organize work. You need to know how to distribute work across team, right? At this point, you're even interfacing with client, customers, right? You need to be more or less, I don't know if this is quite, more or less a solution architect. You're providing solutions to your companies or whatever client, or right, you're leading, you're mentoring, you're organizing, you're planning, you're doing a lot of things. Yeah, also as a leader, you need to have emotional intelligence, because people are going to really annoy you. People are going to annoy you. You're going to speak to people who would just be rude. So yeah, you need to have emotional intelligence. You need to lead. You need to be a solid leader, because the thing is, and also for you to grow, you need to keep on, because one thing I have to tell you guys is now you're entering coding, you're going to get tired of writing code eventually, right? You want to transition to maybe an engineering manager. You don't write code at that level. So it is even the soft skills that you're doing. You're planning, organizing, you're leading, you're mentoring, you're doing all this. That's at the highest level, because when you get tired of this eventually, so these are like the progression I see, and these are the things you need to, the soft skill you need to hold firmly at each of the stages or each of the levels in your career.
Thank you so much. So my next question will be for Seun. I'm trying to see how we can manage our time because I want to give them opportunities to ask questions. Okay, so let me ask this question, and that will be related to what he's talked about, right? So we've talked about how, there are different skills required for different level. And he's also mentioned some ways that they can learn. But I mean, they're still here. They're not yet in the workplace, but they are preparing to get into the workplace. How, what would be your advice to them on how to start picking up the skills so that by the time they get there, instead of like, already.
Okay. So you learn by doing, right? Anyhow, whether it's with your siblings at home, it's with your partner, it's with your friends, you learn by doing. And you have to keep learning. He talked about, there are several online resources, whether on YouTube, there's so many. You go to Google, there's, you have to keep learning. In Nigeria, there's this, I don't know, it's supposed to be derogatory when someone is asking you, are you a learner? In this case, yeah, you actually have to be a learner. You have to learn anyhow you can. You have to learn, because if your foundation is shaky, then, the house that you're building on it is going to eventually collapse. So you need a very strong foundation. He talked earlier about, just finding internships. Don't let money be your motivation at the beginning. Don't get me wrong, money is very important. But you will get to a level that they'll be using this money to chase you and beg you. Then you'll be cherry picking. Okay, this is the one I want. This is the one I don't want. But for you to get to that level, you need to have a solid foundation. And the only way to do that is by doing. You're constantly doing. Self-awareness comes in here. So if we've talked about communication, for example, just anyhow you can do it, communicate, be accountable. You can have accountability partners also. I'm trying to develop this skill. If I know there's something I'm trying to develop, I find an accountability partner. I'm trying to do this thing. If you see that I'm going the wrong way, just very quickly check me. Or I practice on you, practice in front of your mirror, practice. If you were used to sending messages to your friends with, what's it called? Like short codes, instead of writing, you write K. No, stop writing K, write OK, spell it out. BRB, don't do your BRB. And that's if you're intentionally, developing your communication style. Don't do BRB anymore. I'll be right back, write it out. I have a friend like that. If you send her a short form or short code or abbreviations or all of those things on WhatsApp, she will help you spell it out and write it back to you. So you have to be intentional about what, if you're not intentional about what you're doing, then you won't get better at it. So whatever it is you want to do, be intentional about it. Time management was something I didn't talk about a lot. I see that with a lot of software engineers also. And time is money. Time is money. If you're a software engineer who is always, delivering on projects beyond schedule, then, they'll just be looking at you like, this one is not a serious person. You need to start learning. This thing is supposed to start at 5 o'clock. Be there at 5. It doesn't matter if everyone else is not going to be there at 5. Be there at 5. You have a call. You have a team call at 2 p.m. Be there at 1:59. And, by 2 p.m., you're already on the screen. We can see your face. I have a colleague like that. If we give awards every year, and by default, she gets this punctuality award because you can be sure. People intentionally sometimes try to, get on the call 10 minutes before time just so they can get on the call before him. He's built a reputation for himself. Everybody knows him. That, you can be, unless she is dying, even on his deathbed, he will join on time. He's built a reputation for himself. So be known for something. It doesn't matter even if you're just starting out. At the time you're starting out, maybe you're the one they say, oh, if you ask a question in class, he will be the one to answer. Even if he doesn't really know it, he has an idea because he studied before time. I I did that once when I was in secondary school, and I had my high school reunion, and there was this very brilliant boy in my school, and he was like, in SS1, you were the first person I knew in chemistry class, because the first class we had, the teacher asked the question and you answered, and I was like, who is this one? We just, all these over-sabi people, who is this one? She's already answering question, first chemistry class. But before that class, I went to read. I was like, they must know me in this class. I wasn't the best student, but and he said that gingered him, and he was like, no, this girl, she will not pass me this chemistry class this thing. So be known for something, whatever. These things, all these things that we're talking about, if you go online, you will still see it. Maybe it's just more relatable because we're talking about it and we can give you, relatable examples. But you learn by doing and by being intentional. So all the things we've talked about, it doesn't matter if, you're entry level, if it becomes even worse when you're, when you become a senior engineer, because at that time, like you said, you won't be coding anymore. You would choose a path. Am I going to become an engineering manager? Am I going into, is it the architect track? It's very difficult for you to find an IC who is still coding after 20 years, unless you are you have to be. And how many exceptional people are we going to have? How many exceptional people are we going to have? So those soft skills are the things that will then help to develop you at that level. So please, you learn by doing, and you learn by being intentional, and find accountability partners to help you.
Still hold on to the mic. So I want to quickly get into questions, but there's a question here that I feel like we need to answer. And because, like I said, these people here are going to be going to the job market in a couple of months. So from your experience, I think you sort of mentioned and answered it, but I think I just want you to highlight and pinpoint on those things. In terms of non-technical skills, right? What are the most significant skill gaps that you have noticed, in the market, with hiring tech talents?
Okay, in Nigeria, speaking specifically to Nigeria, a lot of people are not intentional about their career. They don't take their career seriously. It's just, I want to be a software engineer, and that's where it ends. When it boils down to it, when you dig deep, they are not intentional about their career. And you can tell. Again, I've talked about short stints everywhere. You're just jumping from pillar to post, like someone who is looking for a miracle from someone. Just learn. That's one thing that I have seen. We've talked a lot about soft skills. Again, I see that they don't respect your time, because I'm also a software engineer. Let me be part of you. We think that we're the kings and the queens. But ask yourself a question. As much as we say that, there is a scarcity of talents or of tech talents. It's not a scarcity of tech talent, a scarcity of qualified tech, because you see tech jobs everywhere. You see, I have postings they're open forever, all year round. And I've not filled them. Of course, they come and go. Some will go to Norway, some will go to India, some will go to Jamaica, some will go to Germany, some will go to Japan. Everybody's, but it is a shortage of qualified tech talent. Everybody here, if everyone here is a software engineer, everyone can code. What distinguishes you? And that's the X factor that you have to find. What's going to distinguish me from the lady sitting next to me, so that if we go for the same job, I'm the one who gets the job? What's going to do? So you have to find that distinguishing factor. And that's one thing that, that's one gap that I have seen. Beyond the technical skills, the technical skill is just the bare minimum. Everything else, can this person collaborate well with others? Some people, you just know from the get-go that this one, if he joins my company today, all the other people will resign. I've interviewed someone before, someone joined the hire, and that's why we do hiring committees. Someone on the hiring committee, immediately after that interview, came back and said, if you hire this person, I am going to resign that very day. This person had a reputation already. So please build your reputation very carefully. And I've seen it a lot. You never can tell who will be speaking. You get to a particular point, it's all about references. You are not going to be applying for jobs anymore. Right now, I'm not going to be applying for any job anymore. It's someone that will speak your name in a room. And your reputation is what will speak for you. The person said it and said, you know what, don't take my word for it. And said, just go on LinkedIn, check XY company where this person worked and call randomly. And I did do that, called 6 people. Someone said, if I get a job in Google today and this person is coming to manage me, I will resign. So you have to be very careful as you go up. It's still tabula rasa, clean slates. Build carefully, build intentionally, and all the best.
Thank you very much. I think that before I take questions, there's just things that you said that I think resonates, with me. And I think she resonates with them, which is the fact that she has said, build carefully. Twitter is now becoming a thing and everybody wants to be on Twitter. Everybody wants to create some form of buzz on Twitter. There's tech Twitter right now. So in building that, build carefully, right? I also think another way that you can also build your skills, especially for communication and writing. I mean, we have a big community here. So that's already like a peck for you to already start building your communication skills with the guys within your cohort, and also expanding to the other cohorts, that are not, your cohort. And then writing. I know a couple of people do write, and we featured a couple of them on our newsletters. I don't know if any of you know, but if you write, you can send it to the marketing team and they can edit it for you and we push it out. We have over 2,000 subscribers on our email newsletter, and we send that every month. So I mean, that's opportunity for people to read and people to, if it's like a Medium article, people can leave comments, right? People can give you feedback. And like you said, by the time you keep on doing, you learn, you get better by doing. So do not wait till, I'm one great and mighty software engineer somewhere in an organization before I start writing. You get to the point where, you're learning new things and you're learning new stack or frameworks, write about it, right? It doesn't even if you don't push it out to, the newsletter, start a Medium page, write, technically. I know that even the dev team currently at Semicolon, they are now enforced to sort of write. They must write. As you're learning something, you have to write and you have to push it out. It's like part of their KPIs. You have to tick the box. So apart from doing your actual work, you have to actually write. So, I mean, this is the best time for you to start. Do not feel like, what do I know? I'm just starting this thing. I'm still struggling. Document. So why don't you just document your struggles? I had this struggle and then, I started it this way. You might feel like you do not have time. But, I've also discussed and had conversations with people who are, high up there technically, and they tell you, I actually am required to document the solution I'm creating because, say, for instance, I might be the only one that has access to it. If I die today or I leave this organization today, what will happen? There'll be a problem, right? So, sometimes you're then required to, write this. I also have been in a conversation with somebody who said that because he was able to build his writing skill as a tech talent, it got him one of his first biggest job, because at that point he's quite old, and he said at that point technical writing was not a big deal, and he had just learned to write, technical time. So he does an installation, he sits down, he documents everything step by step. So before you call technical support, you can read his document and sort of troubleshoot. And he said somebody came into an organization, I think a foreign guy, and I was like, you mean you guys don't have a technical writer? We need to hire one. And that was just, he saw the application, he applied for it, and then he landed the job because he had learned to write, technically, and, document his processes, right? So I'm just giving you guys tips on how you can already begin to start these things. Do not feel like, I'm still here, I'm still learning, I'm still looking for time to sleep, I'm still looking for time to do this. I mean, start writing, start communicating, start doing the things that you can do while you're here. Thank you so much. You have given us so much. Okay.
In 1 minute,
Yeah.
just speaking to those who, the cohort that will be graduating very soon. Another thing that I think I haven't mentioned and which is super important. And I remember Effa talking about that. He was very lucky to start to get his first job in a very good company. Please be very intentional about the companies that you join. It can make or break. There are some companies today that I will not hire a software engineer from there. Yes, because the ones that I have seen from there is already a track record. be very intentional about the companies that you join. There was something that I used to say, and I was intentional about it, just getting out of school. I would say then, and to interviewers, I'll say I was looking for a company where, the relationship would not be parasitic, but would be symbiotic. So you're not just feeding off me and sucking me dry. Some companies will do that. They will suck you dry and then they leave you, they drop you like a wet rag. So be very intentional. Some people don't care. Any job application, they apply. Anything they apply, anything they apply, anything they apply. Just don't do that to yourself. Because if you don't join a company that will help to develop you and help you grow, and it's your first job, it just sets a bad precedence, and your career just goes downhill from there. So try, as I know that it's difficult, but just try. Just try. If you put together most of the things that we've talked about today, and you're intentional about them, it's very likely that these good companies will grab you. So please, and if you happen to find yourself in a place where you're not really feeling it, but it's just, again, a leg in the door, don't sit down like a log of wood and try and not develop yourself. You know what the end goal is, and you just try to develop. So the company you join, very important, very, very important.
Questions? Any questions? All right. If you have questions, just raise up your hand now so I can already start estimating time. Is it just one person?
Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Daniel.
Okay.
Yes, Miss Seun. So to you, the question. You made mention of the fact that as we are starting this journey, we should try to get focused and be intentional with our career paths. While starting semicolon program for me, the notion of around outsiders, you heard software developer, and by the time we came in here, we were made to understand that there's none of that. Software engineer you get to get yourself. So for me, I'm grateful for that to quickly shift my grade instead of getting myself confined to a particular path, and I had to start such that anywhere I get to, I can quickly grab whatever thing I want to do. But now you're saying that we should get intention with our career paths, as in being a software engineer, you should be known for a specific thing. I don't know.
No.
Okay.
So I talked about ensuring that you get your web fundamentals right, so that you have transferable skills. You can work anywhere. You can start off as I also don't call them developers in my company. You will see software engineer, Android software engineer, backend software engineer. I also don't say developers. You can start up as a backend engineer today, and tomorrow you're doing DevOps. The year after, you're doing data science. It doesn't mean you can pivot at any time. It doesn't mean that where you start off from is where you're going to end up at. What I was saying is just understand the fundamentals. And once you get that right, then you can build on that.
Okay. Thanks so much.
But before the next question, I don't know if you want to sort of clarify.
I was just going to say, I'd come from the standpoint of people get bored easily. Right. That's how I look at it. Like, what you're doing today might not really make sense to you tomorrow. Right. Today you're writing code and building applications. You might just want to pivot to DevOps in 5 years, because that's what takes in you at that time. You might be tired of doing DevOps and you want to be, say, product manager, right? And then you can be, you like, it's more being intentional is be strategic, right? Because what makes sense to you today might not necessarily make sense to you tomorrow. 1, 2, coding is really mentally exhausting. You're not going to be able to do this for 20 years, like she said. Standard, you can ask anybody who has done this for a long time. You're not going to want to do this for 20 years. So there's going to be a growth. You're going to leave this someday, right? So I think you need to be intentional and strategic about that transition, about that growth, about that change, right? That movement from this phase to that phase to doing this. And yeah, that's what I have to
Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther.
This is my first time here. I'm really excited. I met Miss Ashley at She Codes Africa, and yeah, so it was really nice knowing about this whole program and all its benefits. I have questions for, I think, both of you actually, but I think especially you. I'm a product manager, and being a young person venturing into tech, I have this issue with, and most of the people I work with are people that have been in tech for a period of time. And I try as much as possible to be, I read an article the other day that said communication skills for a PM is like, I guess 80% of the skill that you actually need. And the first thing you talked about here was communication. And I try as much as possible to, communicate myself. Be be as nice as possible to the people I work with. But then I find that they kind of take you for granted. So you were complaining about an engineer that doesn't like to document. And I have the same issue right now. How do you, there's that line there. It's like, these guys have been in the business for maybe 10 years, but then they now start taking you for granted because of whatever reason that they have. How do you think is the best way for me to, take care of that situation? Thank you.
Okay. See them, the engineers, they're the ones they are talking about. I see them here. Yeah, it never feels right to be taken for granted. And that's why the culture of the place where you work is very important. And I'm glad that I touched on the places where we work. You should never get to a point, unless you are Elon Musk, but you should never get to a point where you feel like, oh, because I've been here for 10 years, then I shouldn't do my part. It really doesn't matter whether you've been here for 20 years, or we've seen people that have been on this earth for 70 years and they get a job and they're just failing woefully at it. So the first thing is this person your manager, for example? So at branch, we typically work as a product and engineering team. So it's very difficult for you to find an engineer who would refuse to do his part of the job, because everyone is working together. The product designer, the product manager, the engineer on the project, and then you have the engineering manager who coordinates all of that. The engineering manager should spot that and see that, okay, this person is not doing their parts, is not doing their bit. So I won't just hold the software engineer in this case, starting from the engineering manager. And don't stop doing what you're doing. Over time, if you keep doing something, even if it's shame, out of shame, I see this person is doing it. Okay, let me start doing it too. But if you stop, then nothing changes. So keep doing what you're doing. When you have feedback sessions, and that's why feedback is important. So if you do one-on-ones in your company, for example, with your manager, those are the kind of things that you can mention. Now, do not be sentimental about your feedback. It's just a matter of facts. Driven by data is one of our values at branch. Because this person isn't doing this, here is how it affects my work. So it's not, oh, me, I'm writing, this person does not write, but I'm documenting because this person doesn't document. Here is how it affects my work. Here is how it affects my timelines, and here is how it costs us money. There's nobody who won't reason with that. So that's the approach that I would tell you to take. Whatever you want to, present, talk to your manager. If you're not talking to that person directly, talk to your manager. Keep doing your part so that you have mouths to say, at least I'm doing my own. And this is how what he's doing affects my job. And you should see changes. If you don't see changes, move.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to touch that question. Yeah, good thing I'm a PM as well. So yeah, I don't know how you, first of all, I like to say engineers are very smart people. Yeah, they're very smart people. And smart people are always somewhat cocky in some sense. So that's why I talked about emotional intelligence, right? Good thing I worked in a company where I've never written code for one day, but I've always managed engineers. Yeah, never written code for one day. I've always managed engineers. And I worked with, I'll make reference to my first company. I worked with somebody who had never written code for one day, but managed engineers, right? How did she get the job done? Right. So as a PM, you are like the people's person, right? You need to speak with them, talk to them. You need to be very nice, playful with them, but you've got to balance it. You need to be firm. It's very important. You need to know when to be firm. I'm telling you, you need to know when to be firm. Very important, very important. Because these smart guys are actually going to stress you if you're not firm. You need to know when to joke and you need to know when to be serious. That's all I can say about that.
I think we can only take 1 or 2 more questions so we can. Okay, great.
Good evening, Seun. Good evening, Evarristus. Sorry, I didn't get your name. Good evening, Ashley. Good evening, Eli. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I'm yeah. Good evening, everyone. So my name is David. I actually want to ask a very quick question, a very small, very quick one, based on what you said about consistency of career or in your career path. So I'm actually I was not in the tech world, very far away. I was somewhere very far off. But I've always had the interest in tech. And do you think this lacuna would actually, affect my career going forward? Like, what you weren't there, and I had already changed roles a couple of times. Then I'm just switching to tech and starting out. Do you think it would actually be bad for me?
It won't if you don't let it. I have one of my best female engineers studied journalism in school. She studied journalism. She went into a boot camp after she was interested in tech. Boot camp, just like you people are here. She's one of the best female engineers that I have. I know someone else. She studied French in school. French. Finished with first class in French. And decided that data science was what she wanted to do. And she's doing amazing at it. I'm not sure how far off, like see journalism to software engineering or French to software engineering. So unless you let it, it won't. Unless you let it, it won't.
Thank you. Okay.
Said one of the best QAs in my team studied English, right? And I studied civil engineering. Never practiced for one day, but I'm in tech.
All right, last question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharif, and my question goes to you. So, the last time you said, about we should be careful with the company we apply for, and I want to ask, like, how do we know the company from the outside? You don't like you are new to the company, you don't know much about how they roll in the company, all those stuff.
You're a tech bro. Go to LinkedIn, put the name of the company, find any random person that works there and reach out to them. I've had people, like before I got this role, I would have people randomly reach out to me, and then some people will come and say, HR, somebody reached out to me to ask about this company. Just do your research, go to Glassdoor, you will see reviews there. But you must find out about that company before you join. Always look before you leave, because the grass is not always greener on the other side, and really not all that glitters is gold. If you hear some companies that look like they're shiny like this on the outside, but if you get in there, hey, the flaws is snakes and scorpions that you find there. So LinkedIn is the first place I would tell anyone to go. Just find a random person that is not in HR that works in that company. Ask a software engineer, ask a product designer, ask a CS associate, someone in customer service. Just find out randomly. They usually will tell you the truth. If really that company is bad, but if they are good, they will also tell you the truth. That's like one thing I can say. And again, like I said, Glassdoor, reviews, word of mouth. But yeah, LinkedIn is a very great source.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much, Seun. Thank you so much, Effa. I'm sure you guys had an amazing time. So you see, I kept my part. Great. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for everyone who has come here and has given us more than an hour of your time. And thank you so much. You know, I know you're very busy. This is also, you're getting to your creative period and you're here, you're here with us. Thank you. You must have had a very busy day and you're here with us. I just want to say thank you for honoring our invitation and for coming to speak to us. We hope to keep in touch with you. We hope to keep you in the loop within our community. You know, we are, you know, into hiring. We have a pool of talent that you can that you can, you know, just throw your net in and catch the fishes, you know, and, you know, we hope that, you know, we'll have a continued relationship with you. So thank you everyone again for attending and thank you. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I'll leave you with one thing. Like I said, remember your soft skills is your pole vault. You know, that's what helps to catapult you to the next level. So please develop that. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.